A local in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is just about an hour and a half away from Lansdowne Station in Pictou County, where siblings Lilly and Jack Sullivan were living prior to being reported missing on Friday, May 2nd of 2025, recently spoke about the case. This local had a lot of information that I haven't heard in the mainstream media, and I'm about to share it all with you. Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my straight-to-the-point videos, please consider a membership. Now, this local said that it's highly unusual in remote areas of Nova Scotia for two siblings so young, just 4 years old and 6 years old, to go missing. Lilly and Jack's home is surrounded by forest, and their long driveway leads to Gairloch Road. And when young kids go missing out there, they're usually found a few hours later. This man pointed out that at least some of the homes lining Gairloch Road likely have ring cameras that face out toward the road. So it's likely somebody captured whatever vehicles drove past the Martel family property or to the Martel family property where Lilly and Jack were living. We know the authorities were asking certain homeowners in the area for lists of their vehicles. The cops want to see which vehicles traversing the area belong to locals and which ones don't. The local described the conditions under the forest canopy on the day Lilly and Jack went missing as muddy and damp. The parents have said both Lilly and Jack were wearing their rain boots, and Lilly took along her white backpack with the strawberry print on it. Jack, according to the stepfather, Daniel Martel, may have been wearing brown pants and a brown top. According to the Halifax local, the low temperature when the kids went missing was 4 degrees Celsius, which is 39 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just above freezing, so an average human being should be able to survive a night like that. But when you're dealing with small children, the odds are not as good. Hypothermia would have set in as the temperature dropped that night. And as the days ticked by without Lilly and Jack being found, hope quickly ran out. The woods in Nova Scotia were simply too cold to allow for the children's survival. The locals said that the officials called off the first search after 8 days. The authorities said that if they thought the kids were still alive, they would keep searching. But they did say they would search targeted areas of interest if they popped up. And that's exactly what happened last weekend and this weekend. Now, this weekend, 75 searchers are focusing on two areas: the Gairloch Road area, near where the children lived, as well as an area in the forest along what's being called the Pipeline Trail. And that is where a small bootprint was previously found. The Pipeline Trail in Pictou County has two parallel trails. The upper trail is not maintained, and it's used by off-road vehicles like ATVs. It has a lot of mud and a lot of holes, and it's not easy to navigate. So that would be the trail that Daniel Martel would have gone on with his ATV. The lower trail is closer to the highway and is typically easier to navigate, but it may also have medium rocks and steep climbs. This trail is more like gravel, and apparently a car can drive on it, but it's very slow going and not so easy. The authorities don't even know if that small boot print along the Pipeline Trail even belongs to Lilly and Jack Sullivan. Now, so far, Amy Hansen, the Colchester County Ground Search and Rescue Manager, is saying that no new evidence has been found, but the searchers are still out there today, Sunday, June 1st. You may recall that a woman named Melissa Scott, who lives on a property connected to the stepdad, Daniel Martel's property, was asked for footage from her trail cameras. Scott's property although adjacent to the Martells, is actually in another town, and it's called Glengarry Station. The Martells' property is in Lansdowne Station. So although they're considered neighbors, their properties are many miles apart. The Scott property is roughly an 8-kilometer or 5-mile drive from Lansdowne Station down dirt roads. But the property is also said to be connected by train tracks and clearings made for utility lines. The clearings made for the utility lines are what I've called the Upper Pipeline Trail. This trail offers a shortcut between the Martell land and Melissa Scott's land. The shortcut is roughly 3 miles. So although many believe the kids didn't wander into the forest on their own, it sounds like the authorities, by focusing on this area, think it's possible that maybe somebody dumped the children out there along that trail. According to this local, a reporter tried to drive through the trail in the woods, and it took them 20 minutes to get from the property where Lilly and Jack were living over to Melissa Scott's property. We know stepdad Daniel Martell has at least one ATV, and he said he drove out into the woods on the ATV right after he realized that Lilly and Jack were missing. The Halifax local said that Daniel Martell is from Pictou County and that he works in a local sawmill just 1 day a week. The mother, Malia Brooks Murray, is a stay-at-home mom. It sounds like it has to be rough financially for them, with a paycheck for just 1 day's work each week. And the shape that the shelters are in on the Martell property drives home that the family likely is dealing with some degree of poverty, or at least a very low income. The local said he spoke to people who know Daniel, and they all described him as a simple, salt-of-the-earth kind of guy. His friends all said positive things about him and said he's taken the role of stepdad to Lilly and Jack very seriously. The local stated that he felt that if Daniel Martell is responsible for the kids' disappearance, then he would have to be a fool to keep showing up in front of the cameras. So this local didn't seem to think Daniel was necessarily involved in the kids' disappearance. The local said that the search efforts were so intense that if Lilly and Jack were in the woods, they would have been found by now. And we know that the searchers initially covered a 5-kilometer or 3-mile radius around Lilly and Jack's home. Now, after the 8-day search, the officials paused for a certain period. Later, they went back out to the area. This makes it seem like the authorities have reason to believe the kids are out there. The locals said there's no way they would have devoted so many searchers and so much time to search if the cops weren't convinced the kids were in the forest. So, to the local, the authorities wanting to revisit some already searched areas is them crossing their T's and dotting their I's. Again, maybe the kids didn't wander out there. Maybe somebody dumped them in the woods. This Halifax local talked about a lot of the people in the area around the kids' home being asked for any and all trail camera footage they might have, as well as any footage from security cameras and any dash cam footage. Only certain neighbors were asked for their trail camera footage. The locals said the authorities initially asked for footage from May 1st to May 2nd, but later they increased the period from April 27th up until Friday, May 2nd. By only asking some neighbors for footage, it makes it clear the cops are looking at a particular area, asking for all this footage, and asking for it from before the kids were reported missing may indicate that the police suspect something relevant to Lilly and Jack's disappearance may have taken place as early as April 27th. So did someone do something to prepare for the two kids to be taken on Friday, May 2nd? Was there suspicious activity around the home or nearby prior to the kids' disappearance? Was there unusual traffic on Gerlach Road or along the pipeline trail where the small bootprint was found? Or are the police simply trying to establish the kids and their parents' movements leading up to their disappearance? The request for dashcam footage suggests a concern that the authorities may suspect that the parents are involved or that they are misrepresenting the timeline. It could also suggest that they believe the kids were possibly targeted by an outsider who scoped them out earlier that week. According to the local, a man called the authorities when the kids first went missing and said he could provide information about all the vehicles that passed that day. He gave the authorities his phone number and said, "Give me a call if you want to." So this neighbor clearly has a view out to the road. Two officers from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's Major Crimes Unit visited that neighbor, Melissa Scott, on May 20th. They asked her if she had trail cameras on her 16-hectare property. 16 hectares is the equivalent of 39.5 acres. It's a very large property. And of course, Scott told the police that she has a total of 7 trail cameras. One points down her driveway to keep track of who comes and goes. Another is positioned near the house, and the rest are scattered throughout the woods to monitor the wildlife the family hunts on their property. Scott explained that it takes about an hour to walk the coverage area of the 7 cameras. So again, it's a very large property. Melissa Scott land would be a 5-kilometer or 3-mile walk if you were to head through the woods in a straight line from Lilly and Jack's house. But again, Scott's property is also connected to the Martel property by train tracks and the cleared out paths below the utility lines. Scott said she was given a USB drive to load her trail camera footage onto, and again, she was initially asked for footage from May 1st to May 3rd, but the police later expanded the request to include May 27th through May 3rd. Again, this could mean the authorities believe the days leading up to the children's disappearance are equally important to figuring out what happened to them. You have to wonder if the cops think that maybe the kids were transported out of the area through the cleared out path in the woods. The Halifax local also shot down the rumor that there was some sort of party at the Martel residence prior to the kids' disappearance. He said he tracked that rumor down and it was made by someone online, and that he, the local, hasn't been able to find any evidence to prove there was a party. Daniel Martel has also told reporters that the story about the party is pure nonsense. And so now we wait to hear if this search on Sunday, today, brings any answers as to what happened to Lilly and Jack Sullivan. Will they be found in Lansdowne Lake? Will the searches in the forest along that pipeline trail reveal any evidence today? Will the dash cam, trail cam, and security camera footage from certain neighbors show questionable journeys of Daniel Martel and Malia Brooks Murray's vehicles, or of vehicles that do not belong to locals? For some reason, I have more hope in this case than I do in the Sebastian Rogers case. It just feels like right now the police have a lot of footage to scour for potential evidence, so I'm keeping my hopes high. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories, please smash that like button